We have a Coppola questions before we move on.
What would have happened if Johnny would have died in one of those accidents? Like, would the devil have reset
That's
things?
why I think the devil was just keeping him from dying. Mm-hmm. Or he'd just go get a new Ghost Rider, I guess.
Why did he spend 20 years cultivating this Ghost Rider?
That's my question. That's my main one. Why did he... why did he give him the power when he was a teenager and then do nothing with it until... And also, I guess I'm stealing your Coppola questions.
No, go ahead.
But also, like, that ties into my other one, which is why did Blackheart show up now to do all this? And, like, why does the devil suddenly not care about the souls and he cares about stopping Blackheart and then...
From getting the souls that were
instead
taken
of
from
taking
him.
them for himself. Right. Like, shouldn't he still want them? Like, shouldn't he want the souls rather than trying to stop Blackheart from giving the souls and then having them be gone forever?
The devil's actually a pretty good guy, you know?
Yeah,
he's stopping evil from happening.
Stopping hell on earth, even though that's what he wanted.
Yeah, it kind of seems like he's trying to find a balance. Like,
well, you know, people mellow.
He says he wants that.
People
mellow. Why does he wait 150 years from when Carter Slade runs off to choose a new Ghost Rider to try and finally track down the 1,000 souls?
Yeah, I wonder if maybe he could see into the future and he could see what Johnny was going to become. But it's all pretty vague. Why does some things hurt him after going back to normal, but other things don't? I mean, I think they just needed that one scene with Carter Slade patching him up so that they could have an exposition scene.
Tending to the wounded superhero or whatever. It's a staple.
Yeah,
it really is.
Usually it's, like it should be Roxanne or something.
Right. Like maybe they had to show some kind of vulnerability to him because otherwise he's completely invincible throughout the rest of the movie.
But I kind of
both when he is Ghost Rider and not, like he just can't seem to die.
I kind of appreciate that sometimes. Like I think I've mentioned it before, but like one of my favorite things about Bruce Lee is that like there was never a moment where you thought Bruce Lee was going to lose in a fight. And like every freaking story ever now, it's like, oh, we got to show Superman being vulnerable. And it's like, no, you don't. He's Superman.
Yeah.
But, there have to be some stakes.
You can do clever things.
At some point, yeah. But like, I always love that, like, even when he gets like a little bit of a cut, he just kind of wipes it off and then just goes back to beating everybody's ass. I love that about Bruce Lee. The caretaker says the last Ghost Rider was 150 years ago, which means that Carter Slade is at least like 170 years old. So does that mean that he gets supernatural power, like to live a super long time? Does that mean that Johnny Blaze is going to be able to live for 200 years or whatever, till he just decides, oh, that was my last ride, and then he just doesn't help the next Ghost Rider, and
then just
the year 2022 or 2200 or whatever.
Yeah,
when he's fighting space demons.
That would be cool.
This is my last ride.
This is my last ride. God, that'd be awesome if Nic Cage comes back for like a sequel that happens in 2040 or something, and he could have the same Sam Elliott hair going back.
Right. Yeah.
Legend has it there was a Ghost Rider who became the spirit of vengeance. Nic Cage's Texas accent really just like comes and goes throughout this whole thing. I don't really have a question about it. It's just an observation. It's like like he's just
what happened
like
to his accent?
He's just full on Texan for a second, and then he's not Texan, and then he's just Nic Cage, and I don't know.
Yeah. Like was he supposed to be living from Texas? Because I got the impression they were traveling, stuntmen, so maybe he could be from anywhere that had a southern accent.
I guess.
I know he lived in it because his loft was in Texas now as an adult, but
like he has like that scene when he's talking to the cops and he's like, I wanted to become a motorcycle cop at some point, and like he has like a full on accent. Yeah, he did.
That's the alternate universe.
Wicker Man is a sequel to this movie.
Once again, he catches fire in that one too. So.
He does. Wow. They tie together.
Yeah.
I like to imagine that maybe all of the Nic Cage characters all share the same world, same universe. They're all related somehow.
They're all different timeline variants of Nic Cage doing things.
Why isn't his body a skeleton too?
It is in the comics.
Yeah, it's supposed to
But
be.
for some reason, his clothes don't burn because he can control what burns and stuff. So that's why he wears a full-on jacket and
But
pants.
his clothes
whole
are
body isn't
floating
burning.
the whole time?
Yeah, supposedly. Like his
He's got
whole
like
body
a-
is a burning skeleton. You just don't see it.
He's got like a real Skeletor thing, you know, where like Skeletor is like a skeleton up top, but then he's like a muscled out, jacked up dude.
I noticed for the first scene, his hands are burning. You can see the skeletal hands, but then the next one he's got gloves on, so they don't have to animate that part of it. But it's also comic accurate because they don't have to draw the flames all over his hands every time. He just do it around his skull.
Yeah.
But
well, then
that begs
why
the
did his
question,
boots
like, how did he
catch
get
on fire
stabbed
when he
or
was
anything?
first transforming? Wouldn't that have
did they?
destroyed all of his clothes? Yeah, his boots catch fire in the first shot, which
Maybe-
they
that's
actually
good. That's a
did, by
point.
the way. That was actually Nic Cage. His feet were on fire in that shot, and they had to like cut right after that and extinguish it. But
Douse him.
But he said that was one of the most nerve-wracking things in the whole shoot was like we had to set Nic Cage on fire. Like I felt so scared about lighting our principal star on fire, one of the
Right.
biggest Hollywood movie stars. So the hell cycle is completely unaffected by gravity or any natural elements whatsoever. It just can just do whatever. Just jet ski,
Take him wherever
ride up
he
a
wants,
building.
yeah.
Can he
Except
fly?
he can't fly.
It can cover jet and drive up buildings.
Ski jet. I mean, could he just? Does he ever transform it into a little plane or something like in the
No,
comics?
he'd probably have to enchant a plane into the hell plane.
No, there was a short story where he takes it into space and he's helping the crew from the Fast and Furious series.
I knew it was going to be a Fast and Furious reference of some sort.
Every show moving forward.
There's an alternate one where he turns Eleanor into a flaming Eleanor.
Eleanor.
Awesome. Oh, and hey, that's perfect because what's her face, greasy haired chick is she looks like a skeleton.
Not a single cop followed the Ghost Rider from the skyscraper back to the cemetery. We kind of talked about it and think, but nobody followed him at all. Not
He
one.
outran him. He can outrun the devil. He can outrun the cops.
He threw the helicopter away, but like the helicopter didn't keep its distance and just keep an eye on the scene and then maybe follow the Ghost Rider away.
Yeah.
The guy was just so petrified by telling him that, or Ghost Rider telling him that he's pissing him off, that he's just like, well, fuck this. I'm going to go land.
Okay, I'm gonna leave.
And then, like, from their perspective, they didn't even really see Ghost Rider do anything heroic, right? Because, like, he dispatches the fart wind guy, but like from the ground, that would have just looked like him twirling his chain around menacingly
What is he doing
during
up
a
there?
dirt devil, and then he falls back to come down to the ground, and they shoot at him. So it's like he just menaces this Texas town,
He was
destroys
fighting the
side
air.
of a skyscraper building, and then runs off.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, he's still mummifying people and burning stuff up as he tears around the city, right? They didn't really absolve him, did they?
No. He's still a wanted criminal.
He's a wanted man.
Also, I know Roxy was there, but that's just because her apartment was just conveniently located nearby. But wouldn't the news crews be on the scene of this crazy event that's happening in downtown?
Yeah.
Texas, random town.
Texas town.
Houston, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio. One of
Cover
those.
all the major areas.
El Paso, maybe. El Paso's not big enough, but... Yeah, so he would have been all over the news. I mean, he says that, like, everybody knows I'm Ghost Rider to Carter Slade, which means it was on the news. And he said, like, don't you have a TV? Everybody knows who I am. So everybody knows that hell and heaven exist now, and that there are creepy creature monster things roaming around. But okay,
Yeah,
The implications of this are huge.
right.
Like,
doesn't really carry over.
supernatural beings exist. Heaven and hell is real.
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
This is my last one. Mark Steven Johnson is a big fan of the comics. Like, he said that he's a really big fan of Ghost Rider in general. So is Nic Cage, who actually, I don't know how I missed it in the quick facts. Maybe I skipped over it, but Nic Cage has a Ghost Rider tattoo on his arm that he had to have covered up in order to play Ghost Rider.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he had the somewhere on like his arm, but he has a big flaming skull, Ghost Rider, on his arm. And he's, this was like his dream from when he was a kid. Like, he always wanted to be able to play Ghost Rider. But anyway, so he was a big fan of the comics. So was Nic Cage. But he saw American Beauty and thought that the kid who sells weed to Kevin Spacey was a good choice for Blackheart. I mean, that's the ultimate question of this whole movie: is why did you cast Wes Bentley for this role? We know he's a good actor when he wants to be and isn't on cocaine and heroin, and not just doing it so that he can get his next fix. But like, he's a great actor in other things. I guess it was a good choice of like casting a good actor to be in this role, but like, why would you choose him to be the son of the devil? And did you look at what he looks like in the comics?
Yeah. Like, he had to have been able to tell during dailies that he was doing a laughable performance. Like, you didn't do anything to curb what was going on screen as you were filming it.
It's the same guy who did Daredevil, so...
That's very telling then. His like, yeah, it's a comic book movie. Why are you thinking too much about it? Like,
yeah, that's exactly what he said in the thing.
Doesn't mind that it's cheesy, over the top.
Well, he actually said that was like, okay, so I made Daredevil, and everybody said that it was soulless, and that it was depressing, and that it was too dark, and there wasn't any joy in this movie. And then I made this movie, and it was fun and goofy and lighthearted, and everybody made fun of me for that. So. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. The thing he didn't seem to realize is that you got to strike a balance between those two things. That's what made the Iron Man. But Iron Man.
The comics that he says he loves so much do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, I don't know. They're pretty campy in the comics a lot of times, but
the old ones, but I'm sure even in the mid 2000s, the comics were taking things a little more seriously, and we're still skirting that line between serious subject matter and goofy fun.
I would love to see like a Frank Miller style take on Ghost Rider. That'd be so cool.
Yeah. Why did the devil find it pertinent to take a teenage Johnny Blaze and give him the Ghost Rider power potentially in the future, but then not call him that, until 20 years down the road? I guess because he was watching his investment grow so that he could get to the point where he has the skills to be the Ghost Rider, but...
Maybe he does this all over the world. He has tons of potential Ghost Riders.
Right.
And then Blackheart just happened to show up right where Johnny Blaze happened to be. So he's like, okay, well, that's going to be my Ghost Rider now.
That's a really good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
There's tons of spirits of vengeance or whatever around. But then it's like, so is the devil forbidden to interfere with stuff that happens on Earth? Is that why he makes all these deals with people? Because it seems like he could just handle things himself if he's as powerful as he says he is.
Well, Blackheart says at one point, like, you don't have power over me here when he's on Earth. So maybe that's true.
So he only has power in hell, and when he's on Earth, he has to find mortals to act as his agents.
That makes sense, because they do reference the Ghost Hunters being bounty hunters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
the Ghost Hunters or the Ghost Riders?
Ghost Hunters.
The Ghost Riders are his bounty hunters.
They also work at Roto-Rooter.
So that was one. My other one was it was just the overall confusion of the enemies, like the bad guys' plans. Like, why do they want the souls? How is that going to allow them to be hell on Earth?
Like, I don't get that at all. Like, so would the devil have created hell on Earth if he would have taken the contract? Because Carter Slade said it was too
150 years in the past. He wanted it for some reason.
But
like,
then
maybe give him.
Maybe it's like, well, I wouldn't have gone over the top, but Blackheart, he's crazy, so.
Or it could just be he doesn't want Blackheart to do it because he wants to do it. and Blackheart's his idiot son that he hates. So he doesn't want to see him get this power and whatever.
So that means that the souls are gone now, right? Because he burned the souls through the penance there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or he took them all into him. So maybe they're still trapped in Blackheart now.
Yeah, maybe.
Because he took them all into himself, but then Ghost Rider ruined all of them. And I don't know, turned him into a basket case by giving him the penance there.
Like some sort of arms race, like, if I get 1,000 souls, then suddenly I'm super powerful. I don't know.
Yeah, so why doesn't the devil just do what he did 150 years ago, where he tempts 1,000 people or 2,000 people or an entire town of Texasville to turn into sin, you guys, and then get a new Ghost Rider to round all those souls up and then start the whole plan over again?
Did you guys see Needful Things? That's kind of the point of, or the story in that is he like, the devil shows up in this town and just starts like making everybody little deals, and they start doing bad things to each other, and then it turns everybody against each other in the whole town, and it's just chaos and bedlam in this little town. And that's kind of what I picture happening in San Venganza.
Yeah.
So that's the same sort of thing.
But then it's like, when that failed, why didn't he just try it again with somebody else in some other town? Like,
just do it once. I failed.
Just do it once.
Obviously,
and then
I've seen it.
Years.
I've seen the error of my ways. All right.